Salutations, sleuths. I'm Gina.
I'm Maria.
And we are
Fortuited.
Boom!
Okay. Did you want to start with a particular case? Or should we? I guess I'll just go with the flow. I'll go with what you.
Just dive right on.
Yeah.
Well, so today we're going to be talking about spooky cases because it's spooky season and, well, I should say spooky court cases.
Yeah.
Because it's spooky season and we have Andrea or Andy
Yes.
with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And Andy's going to be a future lawyer. She's going to represent all of us when we need her.
That's terrifying, isn't it? Looking right in the camera.
So do well in school.
It's crazy to think like I will be considered an expert because I'm like
I don't feel like an expert.
You see me like I'm Snooki, baby Snooki. So it's like, but no, I love the law. So
it's giving like Legally Blonde.
I thought it was like Legally Blonde. It's not.
But like, yeah, Snooki version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
then so how many years of schooling do you have? You do what, 6 years?
No, 3 years.
3 years.
So I'm like almost 66%. We're halfway through the semester. So after this year, I have 1 year.
Okay.
And then the bar exam.
All right.
And that will be a problem for the future.
That's a bridge for the future to
cross.
I
mean, it's going by so fast. Like a year from, today I will be
graduated.
Or getting ready to.
Yeah.
2026 is May 2026 is my expected.
So you graduate and then take the bar exam.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the bar exam,
you only get 3 tries, which is like no
That's
pressure.
it.
Yeah. You have to pay. I think it's going to cost me like $6,000
per exam.
Yeah,
or per try.
Because you take it in Jefferson City, so you have to pay for a hotel. They have ridiculous fees. Like there's a $120 fee to use like your computer. Which
so like what else are you supposed to use though? Like pen and paper? Is that free?
Well, I don't know if they even give you the option. So I'm also being a guinea pig because Missouri is getting ready to test like using a new test.
Okay.
It's called Next Gen. So I will be the first class to take it.
To try Next Gen.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
Yeah, so lucky. So we'll see how that goes. But isn't that great for me?
So when you take the bar exam, what is that for? Because you've already graduated, so why do you take a bar exam afterwards?
So they test you on like a certain classes. So like torts, criminal law. I can't remember because they took some out. Civil procedure, just like the basic concepts of like civil procedures, like how what the rules are of how like to file a case, like can you file a case, there's
okay, so just like a giant lawyer umbrella.
Like do you know how to file a case, do you know the process of all of that, like because there's certain things that you can't just like sue for crazy things that have no,
even though people try,
or just like no legal basis.
Okay. So then you can't actually officially be a lawyer until you pass the bar exam.
Yeah, so you could get your law, well, I guess, I don't know if this is correct, but like you could, get your law degree but not be a lawyer because you didn't pass the bar
exam.
Yeah.
That would be really shitty. That would be a waste.
Yeah. And you get 3 times, so yeah, a waste, let me tell you. Like a $200,000 waste. And
yeah, because what else would you do with that? Does that reset after so many years? Like you tried the bar exam 3 years, let's say, and then, or 3 times, and then like they're like, okay, after 5 years, you get 3 more attempts.
I don't know, like if you can, but I don't think so. I think at that point it's just
You're
not
just
meant
done.
for you.
Yeah.
But
try another career. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't even want to imagine what.
No, now I'm curious to how many people don't pass the bar exam.
Which. I mean, it happened, people also pass it the second time, but just like not, the first time is just so.
That's unnerving.
Yeah. You take it with your class, and I think they like post who passed.
And who does it, yeah.
Well, I don't think they necessarily like put who does it, but you'll know who doesn't. Like,
yeah.
If I went to school with you and I don't see your name.
And my name's not up there.
So, no pressure, no.
No pressure. So then, can you only practice law in Missouri?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because, every state has different laws and different, But I think if you test well enough, you can also try to. It's like a shorter version of a Illinois test. So you can try, if you're smart enough, you can do both. Yeah, because, Illinois is like right next door. But
right. But if you wanted to practice law, like let's say in California,
you have to take the California bar.
Okay, but you wouldn't have to do 3 more years of schooling.
No, it's just you get tested on like I said, like the basics,
specifics,
like civil pro, like criminal, just the basic stuff, which is
So then, do you know what kind of lawyer you want to be, or do you find that out like after bar exam?
I do. I think I want to be.
That was dangerous.
I want to be. Eventually, I want to be an immigration lawyer, but just because I'm an immigrant myself. Mm-hmm. But I think that for that, I will have to be mentally prepared for it because it's very draining, and because I can connect to it, I can just see it being my downfall. Because how am I gonna
get very emotional with it?
And I am a very emotional person.
Hard on the sleeve.
Yeah, so.
That would be difficult to like be a lawyer for something that you're passionate about.
Yeah, because I know like that, if I can't help with an immigrant, like that could have been my family. Like
right.
Which, it's not.
So can you go into something if you're biased?
You can specialize in whatever, law you want to. It's as long as you're good, baby. That's all. But I think before I do immigration, I think I'm gonna do like personal injury because I was a paralegal for 2 years.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I worked for a firm that was like plaintiff side, and we didn't get paid unless we settled. So it was, I don't know. I felt like morally, going against insurance companies like. Oh, I'm the bad guy. So I don't,
it's a little bit easier.
It is, to just go home and be like, okay.
You can go to sleep at night.
Right, and it
not bring your work home.
Yeah, pays the bills, Mm-hmm. And then also there's not a lot of, Spanish-speaking immigrants in the area, so I feel like, I won't.
You'd have the advantage.
Mm-hmm, because, I'm Mexican, so it's Mexican culture, it's about trust. You just, if you have one
and
person.
if you speak the language, it makes it easier for them to
trust you, and they will, bring other people to, spread your name. And so, that's my plan. And then eventually I will do immigration. Mm-hmm. But we'll see when my time.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
So very cool. So we had the idea to do spooky court cases because the paranormal is everywhere, including in the courts.
Yeah, spooky, right?
Double
spooky, yeah.
Well, it's wild that paranormal could actually make it into legal court cases.
Yeah, especially the case that Johnson. That case is crazy because if you do believe in the demonic possession,
if you're very religious,
right? It's wow.
That's a very emotional case for some people because they do believe in being demonic possession and everything like that.
So you do question are they being for real? Could they be for real?
Right.
Yeah.
And then how do you prove that in court?
Yeah, could you imagine that lawyer? Honestly, if my client was I was possessed, I would literally be
well, that's what. So that was one of my questions as I was going through this. I was like, what if you one day get a future client that claims, possession or spoke to a ghost, and the ghost said that such and such is the murderer. Yeah. And then you do find evidence that they were right.
Yeah. I don't know. Because part of me wants to be okay, but also I don't know. I also don't plan on going into criminal law, to be completely honest, because it's a different world for me that I'm not, mentally.
Yeah. See, for me, if I were to become a lawyer, that's where I would want to go into. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a very different world. I did an internship with a criminal law attorney, and it's just...
It seems very cutthroat. It seems...
Well, people are just... in their own, there's a lot of things that...
Well, and then how do you know if your client truly is innocent or not? I would feel horrendous if I'm defending someone who I, at the time, believed was innocent, and he convince me that he was innocent, and then come out later that he was actually guilty.
Yeah, well then it also becomes like a moral thing, because like, do you really, you know, because like your job is to defend your client. Regardless.
To the best of your ability.
Right, yeah. So morally, and that's why I don't think criminal, especially like child molesters, like I don't know how people do that. You cannot pay me enough.
To like listen to that and be in on that.
Yeah, which is, you know, and just even like committing crimes, like there's some things that's like, dude, really? You know, it's like, so I just don't have the patience, don't have the... Or
like the capacity to mentally and emotionally...
all of that.
Day in and day out, just constantly. Yeah, it would be tough. And I mean, it's the same with like detectives or police officers that investigate homicides.
Yeah. I wanted to be like a forensic
pathologist.
Yeah, but just like, you know, crime scene, I don't know. The older I get, the more I'm like, oh, there's no way.
Like I need my sleep. Yeah, like that's
not that I get sleep now, but yeah, like my mental, you know, like
mental health is important.
Yeah. Just there was a couple cases at one of the firms, and you know, you see all like the pictures of like evidence. You know?
Yeah.
And we took a case where, unfortunately, our client passed away. So just seeing those like accident pictures, you know, I had to like take a step back, because it's crazy to think like, you know, she had no idea that she was not gonna come home. You know, it's like it really
hits you.
Yeah. So.
Right, and it's different seeing it on TV than actually like experiencing it for yourself and seeing it with your own eyes. And just
trying to, you know,
process
that yourself, but then also like, how do I help this family? You know, so it's, you know, they're going through a lot, but you know, so
I always think that I want to like be in a room when they do an autopsy on a person.
You can never pay me to do that, but yeah.
So I think that I want to do it, but I don't know like if I was actually there and I actually saw it, like how I would react.
Yeah, I think.
And would I regret that decision?
Yeah. I think I think too much, to the point where like it's my biggest enemy. You know, because
the sentence I think too much. First of all,
I'm tired of thinking. But just like I would, you know, it would be hard for me to like. This was once a person. Like that's somebody's, you know, sister. Like to me, that's like my first thought, which is like I'm tired of, you know, I don't.
Right, you have to compartmentalize. You have to be able to separate it.
Yeah.
And it takes a special type of person to be able to do that.
And it's not me.
And it's like, no. Self-aware queen. We love it. All right. So we have two cases that we want to talk about, and then we'll get into some like quirky Halloween laws. Yeah. Because 'tis the season.
Yeah.
So we have Son of Sam, and then we have The Devil Made Me Do It, Arne Johnson.
Which was also, I guess I forgot, it was based on that Conjuring, I think.
Yeah. The Conjuring was based or like inspired by it.
Yeah, which is cool.
Which one do you want to start with?
Whichever one. I guess we can start with the Son of Sam. That one's, you know, shorter.
I don't know. I have
this one's kind of
same details, same amount of details for both.
Yeah.
Because it's just me that goes down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
But we'll start with Son of Sam.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right. So Son of Sam, he's also known as the 44 caliber killer. And his name is David Berkowitz. So for the people that don't know, David Berkowitz, he was an American serial killer who terrorized New York City area from 1976 to 1977, killing 6 people and wounding 7, most using the 44 caliber Bulldog revolver. So what's interesting is that he ended up wounding more than he killed. So a lot of his victims actually escaped.
Yeah.
Which is wild. Yeah, it's good, but it's wild.
Yeah.
And then, so when I was like reading that, and then I listened to the Morbid podcast episode. It's really good. Check them out if you're into true crime. Morbid podcast. But I was wondering, like, why is he so notorious? Why does everyone know the name Son of Sam? Because if you compare him to other serial killers like John Wayne Gacy or Jeffrey Dahmer, like, who are more, I would say, like, prolific.
Yeah.
Like, if you're comparing, like, just, like, numbers, like, he only has quote-unquote 6 versus everyone else. So why is he so special? Why is he so famous?
I have a theory, and should I go into my theory?
Say the theory, yeah.
So I think if I remember correctly, he had left a note to the police, and he had signed Son of Sam, I believe. And, I mean, he ended up trying to say that his neighbor's dog was the one telling him to do this, which is crazy. But I think, to me, that is just like, oh, that was going to be your escape to say I'm mentally not unsound, because, you know, that's just my...
Right. So I did look into it. Like, why?
Yeah.
And so one is like the defense that he tried to go in with, which was what he tried to claim that his neighbor's dog was possessed by a demon or a spirit.
Sam, maybe?
I actually know where Son of Sam came from.
Oh, do you?
That we'll get into, yeah. And so he tried to say that the dog was possessed, and the dog was then telling him to kill people. So I think part of that, like, that's so asinine. That's so out of this world.
Dogs would never do that.
First of all, I know someone says like that a dog wouldn't do that. A cat would, but not a dog.
I know you're a cat person, so I didn't want to be like, give me cat.
My cat Ozzy 100% would tell people to do that. But yeah, so just like this wild defense that you're trying to go in with, but then also like the media frenzy surrounding the murders was unprecedented at the time.
We eat that shit up, which is really sad if you think about it as a society, that we like praise.
That's like, what we consume. Yeah. That's what sells.
Yeah.
And so what's worse, so the police investigation from the beginning was like a shit show. It was just poorly handled all the way around. He could have been stopped a lot sooner. And the podcast and other stuff go into detail as to like how and why he could have been stopped sooner. But David himself was a narcissist.
Oh, shocker.
A lot of them, many serial killers are narcissists. So he loved the attention. And so much so that he would actually go and sit in bars that he knew police would frequent, just so that he could hear the police officers talk about him. He loved hearing...
He loves himself,
Yes. And so doing that, and then the media frenzy that's going on about him just fed his ego and probably encouraged him to keep going so that he could keep reading the stories. I mean, like, he would like get off on going back to the crime scenes and seeing like the blood on the sidewalk. Isn't
that terrifying that we live with people
that are
like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes them so fascinating is because like normal people don't think that way or don't get off on that. So what about them?
That is so,
Right. What's so different about them?
Yeah.
And then prior to Son of Sam, like local crime stories were delegated to like beat reporters, and then they were largely ignored by like national outlets. Like it just wasn't really a big thing to like cover. It's like no big deal.
Yeah.
But then there's a famous journalist, Rupert Murdoch, who initiated like this modern day tabloid war.
Okay,
that's
interesting.
So he reshaped the entire narrative of the killings, and he knew that fear sold papers.
Just like sex.
Yes, and so he capitalized it. So all of his headlines were to capture the attention and to like instill fear in people.
Yeah, wow, that's...
Yes, a media historian and professor at University of Maryland's Merrill College of Journalism, Mark Feldstein, says, quote, "I think the Son of Sam murders really broke new ground for sensationalism by tabloid press of New York. Before Murdoch, American news coverage was much more restrained. Unquestionably, Murdoch imported to the U.S. those hyper-aggressive, sensational tabloid tactics that he used successfully in England and Australia."
Wow.
So over there, that's what he did, and it was successful. In the U.S., we weren't doing that, and he brought that to the U.S.
Yeah, that's...
So that is how Son of Sam became so big.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, he would have just been, like, page 2, no big deal.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And then the other thing that was different, besides being, like, sensational, was that the papers would directly communicate with the killer. Which is wild.
That is so crazy,
because Son of Sam is known for writing letters either to the police or to the reporters. And comes to find out that they are like very poorly written, like grammatically, lots of errors, spelling, and then he tries to be poetic or Jack the Ripper-esque. Like, he tries to make him seem badass or whatever, but they come across as very, like, unintelligent.
Yeah.
So, kind of, like, flop there, but that's what he's also known for doing. Wow,
that's really interesting.
Yeah. Like, that's why we know about him.
Yeah.
And then David Berkowitz is not even his real name. So he was born Richard David Falco.
Okay.
On June 1st in 1953 in Brooklyn.
He just didn't want to be known as Dick. He's
like, you know what?
Dick,
that name's not doing it for me. I can't be a dick.
Yeah, that's so funny. I can't be a dick, but I can be a killer.
Even though it turns out that he was like a bully. Like, if you look him up, he's a big dude.
Is he? I'm gonna look him up.
Yeah, he is massive, and he is actually covered also on the Netflix series Mindhunter.
Okay. Wow, Netflix is...
Yeah. So, like, I think they did 2 seasons of Mindhunter, and for whatever reason, they stopped the show. Mm-hmm. Despite it being, like, a phenomenal show. And everyone was, like, fucking protested and being like, give us more.
Well, maybe that's
and I think that I think I saw something where, like, they just renewed it for a 3rd season.
Huh.
But, I mean, it's a really great show, and his case or his character is on there. And the great thing that show does is that they cast people that looked very much like the serial killers or the inmates.
Yeah, that's all. Well, it's not awesome, but
it's, like, neat that they were able to cast people like that. So anyway, like, he's on that show, which is also how, like, I'd known the name. Mm-hmm. But so his biological mother did the deed with a married man.
Okay.
And that married man wanted nothing to do with the child.
Which would be him.
Which is, Richard.
Yeah, I think
so. She put him up for adoption. And then his adoptive parents, Pearl and Nathan Berkowitz, decided to call him David Berkowitz. So they got rid of the Richard, got rid of the Falco, kept David, and then added Berkowitz to the end of it.
Interesting.
Nathan, the father, would also call David a mistake all the time.
Oh, that's so sad.
And, like, to his face.
That's really sad.
Right. So you feel bad for the child because he did have it really rough between, you know, his biological mom giving him up for adoption because the dude that she had an affair with didn't want the child. So she gave him away, even though she had another child. Mm-hmm. So it's not like she didn't want any kids. She had kids.
I think maybe that explains, doesn't justify, but explains why he wanted attention, because to him, you know, he probably felt, not wanted.
Well, yeah. So, there's lots of factors that play into it. Mm-hmm. So you have the adoptive father calling him a mistake all the time. And then what they did was that they told David that his real mom died during childbirth, like giving birth to him.
Okay.
Even though she was very much alive.
That's,
And it's like, why would you tell him that?
Yeah.
So then immediately David felt like it was his fault that he killed his mom. And so
meanwhile, she's
alive and well and, you know.
That's...
So he blamed himself for her death, thought it was his fault. And like many serial killers, David did also experience head trauma.
Really?
Yes, not just once, but twice.
Okay. Do you know what?
Yeah, so when he was 4 years old, a kid dropped this giant rock on his head.
Oh.
How, why, I don't know. But, like, somehow at 4 years old, he got this giant rock on his head. Oh. And then at 7 years old, he was actually hit by a car. Which caused severe head trauma.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So then after these 2 head injuries, he did become very angry. He became violent, like just whole personality changed. Because prior to that, he was fine. He was relatively normal child.
I was going to ask, I feel like sometimes, people who murder, like, kill animals. Do you know have you heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know if he did any of that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Right.
He's hitting every check.
Yep.
Okay.
You're segueing me into the very next. Yeah. So after these head injuries, he dabbled in arson.
Okay.
So he got into playing with fire, so much so that he set like 1,500 fires in New York.
That's a shit ton.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And how do you keep track of that? Like, who kept count of all the fires?
He probably did. You know, like
him. Yeah.
Check. Wow,
And then he had this new hobby of burning bugs.
Okay.
So he would set fire to bugs often. And then that escalated to he did become jealous of his mom's pet bird because he thought that the mom was giving the bird more attention than him. Became jealous and then killed the bird because of that. Pearl, the mom, ended up passing away from breast cancer when he was 14 years old.
That's pretty young.
It is young.
Yeah.
So he thinks that his biological mom, yes, this is two moms. This is two women in his life that have left him. And he took Pearl's death like really hard, like it really upset him. And then he also felt like that she abandoned him. So now he's got two women that have abandoned him in his mind.
Do you think like serial killers have mommy issues?
So he for sure had mommy issues.
Yeah.
Because it also talks about how like Pearl and David had like an unusual mother-son relationship, almost like on the verge of creepy.
Oh, I'm not surprised, but
and it's
so, yeah.
It's kind of icky.
Do you think maybe that's why Dad was like, you were a mistake?
You were a mistake. I don't know, and like I don't know like what
yeah.
transpired between the two to give it that. I've just heard that they were like creepily close. And then Nathan, the mistake father, remarried a lady.
Okay.
And this lady also despised David. She thought he was like a weirdo loner. But this time, like David does have like anger issues.
Yeah, he's older. And,
yeah. So this is another woman that he hates. At 18, he enters the army and he goes to Nam, where he loses his V card.
Okay.
Lost the card, but gained an STD. Yikes.
Fortunate.
Yeah, so, it happens.
Yeah.
What is the slogan? Rapid or
I don't think I've ever heard
clap
this.
it, or I don't know.
I've never heard that.
There's a slogan about rapping it. But this was also like way back then.
Clap it. Oh, God. Yeah.
This was also like back then. I don't even know like when the first condom was made. I'm sure by the 70s, but...
Yeah, but I don't think people really like understood.
I mean, no one cared about that at the time.
Yeah, there was a AIDS, right? Epidemic.
Yeah, that was, I forget what decade. But yeah, I mean, that was just stuff that you didn't think about back then.
Or didn't think it was like...
You thought you were like invincible to it. Didn't think it would happen to you.
Yeah.
So this was just another thing that he added to his like I hate women list. And then at 21, he was honorably discharged. He moved back to New York.
Okay.
And then he lived in various places, held odd-end jobs. Like he was a taxi driver. I think he worked at the postal office. Just different miscellaneous stuff like that. Wherever he went, though, he never got along with his neighbors.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, like, any neighbor that he had, they would all say that, like, they never got along with him. And to the point where, like, he would leave, like, angry notes on their doors.
So is he the original Karen?
Maybe.
1970s, yeah.
But this is so where like the note thing started. So he starts writing notes to his neighbor. Later on, he's writing letters to police, everything like that. He finds out that his biological mother is still alive, reconnects with her, and meets his sister. Problem is he finds out why he was given up for adoption. The mom was like upfront, explained the situation, and he was let down because he saw his mom as impure. So,
but not the dad, but not the married man.
Not the married man.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
could never.
Right. And so this was just another strike. It's just all these like women issues. Growing up, he had a thing for horror movies, and somehow, while he was in New York, he met people in the occult in 1975.
Okay.
So this is where it starts. He starts getting ideas.
And, yeah.
And 1975 is, like, right before the whole streak happens. Mm-hmm. And before he started using a gun, he actually attempted to kill 2 other ladies, unsuccessfully, luckily, with a hunting knife.
That's terrifying. Do you know how personal that is?
Yeah, you have to get up close and personal to get him with a knife.
Yeah.
It's more scary than with a gun.
Yeah. No, I would rather get shot than...
Well, if I'm, like, trying to fight for my life, I don't want someone to come with a knife.
But if I know I'm going to die, like, I don't want my last moments to be like,
stabbed to death.
Stabbed, yeah.
I haven't given it much thought, actually.
Oh, see, I'm tired of thinking. Did I not tell you this? I just think too much.
I've thought of every scenario of my life. I don't want to be. I don't want to be knifed. I want to be shot.
I am
given the two options.
Anyways,
this is what happens when you go to law school. You start thinking about your death.
You think too damn much about what are the possibilities? What can I do?
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, I just know I want to go out like in a blaze of glory. I want to go out fighting or swinging. I don't want to go like peacefully in my sleep. I feel like that's very anticlimactic, even though that's what most people would prefer.
But then it's like I think I would prefer that.
Sleep, because you just keep dreaming.
Yeah, you never know. But
yeah, I don't know. Won't go down that rabbit hole. But so the first lady that he attempted to kill was just a random lady walking out of a grocery store. Okay. She's still unidentified to this day. Okay. We don't know who the very first lady was. And he literally just went up to her and started stabbing her out of the grocery store. And luckily her purse
saved her?
Got in the way. So she still got stabbed, but I think the purse was in the way enough to protect her. So she screamed and was able to escape. That same night, he tried again with 15-year-old Michelle Foreman. Okay. He stabbed her 6 times, including in the torso and the head. Oh. She got a collapsed lung, but she ended up surviving.
Do you know where she was at when the stabbing happened? Was she just walking around?
I think she was just walking around. I think he was literally just walking and then approached.
He said, woman.
Yeah, woman.
Yeah. Ugh.
And it turns out that, and I don't know what these 2 women were, but eventually, he gets a type of woman that he goes for.
Oh, so he has his
a profile.
Did it look like his mom?
With the dark hair.
See,
so you're on it. Exactly.
Okay.
And then turns out it's not just one dog in this story. There's at least 2, if not more, because his story changed all the time, right? And this has been we figure out this is a ruse because he wanted the insanity plea. So a month later, after these stabbings, he moved to a rental home in Yonkers. Yonkers. He moved to Yonkers.
Yeah, but it sounds like
and his landlord had a German Shepherd. So David claimed that this German Shepherd dog was possessed by a demon, and this dog ordered him to kill women. Fast forward 3 months, he's now in a new place because he has a hard time staying in one place again with neighbors, everything like that. So he's at this new place, and he has a neighbor by the name of Sam. Sam Carr. And Sam also had a dog, a black lab named Harvey, whom David hated for whatever reason. Just hated this black lab. And he actually tried to kill the dog with a Molotov cocktail. Okay. Failed at that. The dog survives the Molotov cocktail. Lots of people and dogs survive him, which is wild.
That's awesome. Maybe, God's
he was just not meant to be a serial killer. He is failing hard at killing, which is good.
Yeah, the devil was not you're not going to use my name for that.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm not any part of this.
Not sponsored.
Don't put my name on this.
Yeah.
You suck.
Oh no.
Unfortunately, though, he did end up shooting the dog, which did kill the dog. But this is not with the .44 caliber gun that he's known for. He gets that later from a friend, despite already having a plethora of other guns. He essentially has an armory, but for some reason he goes to a friend asking for a .44 caliber gun.
And we have great gun laws, so
it's very easy for him to get. Yeah. Even back then. So like we said, he targeted women that looked like his mother, dark-haired women, brunettes. This fact, this fact came out, and the sales of blonde wigs went through the roof.
Yeah, fear does sell.
Yeah. And then hair salons were booming. People were dyeing their hair blonde.
Isn't that crazy? He was helping the economy.
Well, in that way, but discos and nightclubs, they were ghost towns. Oh. So no one was going out except to go and color their hair or to get wigs. So tragically, he did end up killing 6 people. The spree lasted for a year, and it was with 6 people. Won't go into details of all of the victims, but he was eventually caught, which leads us to his trial or the court case. And then that's where he tried to use the plea that he was only taking orders from a possessed dog. Yeah.
How would you respond to that? Like,
if someone said,
were the attorney,
am I defending him or against him? If I'm defending him,
and he was like the dog,
we need another defense. Like, because one,
for real.
I mean, I'm also not religious, so it's very hard for me to believe possession, anything like that, when I'm not religious.
And see, I
religious.
am. The dog is a stretch for me, to be completely honest.
Well, because not only that, but then like dogs and people don't talk. So how is the dog talking to you? It's all mental.
Maria, come on.
Duh.
And like I said, dogs would they would never do that.
Unless they were possessed.
Oh,
which he is.
Of course, sorry.
Claiming,
it just seems kind of crazy. I think he got like 20? Do you know how many years he got?
No, I thought you had the court details.
I don't, but I can pull it up.
Yeah.
Because I just thought it was fascinating that he really tried to use, like,
that.
Possessed by a dog, because
and then, did the court allow it? Did the judge allow it?
I don't think they... I think
if the judge didn't allow it, then what was his other defense?
I think just, like...
To try the insanity.
Yeah.
I think I do remember that he got, like, 6 consecutive life sentences, and he's still in jail, and he's still alive. I think he's, like, 71 years old.
Yeah, I did see that. Let's see. Sentencing. So when you plead the insanity, you have to have experts testify that you can't just plead it.
Doctors, psychologists to say that you are.
Yeah, and it looks like 3 separate mental health examinations determined that he was competent to stand trial. So that's what ends up happening. So they just, you can't use that.
Can't use that. So then, I don't know what the next plea was.
I think, so it looks like his attorney ended up just, he refused to take, so he wanted to do not guilty by reason of insanity, and his attorneys tried to tell him not to, and he still went ahead. And, at the end of the day, like...
You have to listen to your client.
Right,
they're going to do what they're going to do.
So, even more whammy to the poor attorney. Looks like... Well, he ended up pleading guilty to all the shootings.
So I guess if
Did you read the case? So it looks like when he was restrained, he kept repeating Stacy, which was his last victim, was a
whore.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I did hear that in the episode, was that like while they were in trial in court, he just kept repeating that Stacy is a whore, Stacy's, and the mother was there.
Oh.
Yeah.
I could never, like... So my best friend was shot and killed, and when her trial came up, her mom, asked me if I wanted to go, but I just couldn't, because I just cannot imagine being in the same room
as the killer. And like, you are literally feet away from them and can't do anything. Yeah.
I'm sorry, like, but I would want to.
Right, just beat the living shit out of them to get like all of that anger and rage out on the person.
And I think, he did this because he wanted to show that he was like crazy, because like, that's not normal to like go in there and shout like I would kill her, I think it was just his way.
He was playing the part, trying to be insane.
But it's, I think it's obvious when people are not.
When they're trying to play it versus, So
he was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for each murder.
Okay, so, and then you times that by 6.
I'm not good at math, but it's
life.
He's in there.
The extent of a human life.
But apparently, despite prosecutors' objections, the terms of his guilty plea made him eligible for parole in 25 years. So, I guess it's been 25, The process is hard to, like, get accepted to rehear your case, but it's still, like...
It's still a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it takes just a judge to, if you get a judge on a good day, to just have your trial again, which is kind of crazy that parole was even an option.
Right, after
because it's like
6 people.
We can see he's willing to pretend to be crazy.
Right.
Is he ever gonna?
So the people that pretend to be crazy are even more sane in order to
That's exactly
play a part. Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, wow, it's very, very interesting. The, legal
The backstory.
system and how that's even, because like, how does that make you feel? It happens all the time. Like people, and it's good that we have that too, because sometimes people do end up going to prison for stuff they didn't do.
Yeah,
like,
wrongly convicted.
you're literally your life. If you're innocent, your life depends on the jury and the judge.
Yes.
And
that's scary.
it's so scary because it's all about being able to influence the jury based on what evidence you have.
Yeah.
Like we saw with O.J. Simpson.
Oh, yeah.
It's like morally, there's a lot of moral and a lot of like, I see why we do this because it should be like innocent until proven guilty, but also
You're relying on other humans.
Yeah.
Who have bias, who have
because as
morals,
humans, we're always going to have, we're going to be biased about certain things.
Yeah.
So.
I never want to stand trial. But I guess you can have a trial without a jury. It's just you and the judge, right?
Yeah, but I don't think a lot of criminal, because, it's a big deal. It's a criminal case. You want people to, you don't want to
I guess
it's like to be.
I guess there's a chance if you have a jury that they would see you as innocent. Whereas if it's just you and the judge.
Because, it's all about, again, like, can I persuade you into who are you going to, if more people are likely to be persuaded, then maybe we
more
are.
odds.
Yeah. But, I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting, spooky stuff.
Yeah. Again, this is why criminal, it's just when, there's too much that is.
Lots of layers and it would be hard. I listen to a lot of true crime, and whenever they get to like the sentencing, like there's been so many times where like either the police work or the sentencing has been so disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's scary that like the system is broken.
So broken. Yeah. I don't know if we want to get like, controversial, but I don't know if like you heard recently the man from Missouri who was
wrongly convicted for how long was he in
I think
prison
a
for?
long time, and
like 25 years or something.
Yeah, I don't really know. I've it's been on my to-do list to actually like read about the evidence they had, and not just like, because it's so important to not just like rely on what the media, because we all know
media is wrong all the time. And we just said in this case they sensationalized the shit out of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And whenever trying to do research, like there's so many contradictory sources, and it's all like newspapers, so you cannot believe anything that you read newspapers.
No.
Books, I would say yes.
Yeah.
Newspapers, no.
No. So I've been wanting to actually try to find like because I have access to like cases and stuff. So I've been wanting to. It's on my to-do list
to go through it yourself.
And then based on that, determine how I feel.
What you feel that, in your opinion on it.
But regardless of that, I think it's very important to note that the prosecutor for that case actually like sent a letter, saying like I don't think we should go ahead with this,
the release.
No, killing him.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but I don't know if you saw it on like all over your social media recently.
No, I mean I just saw like a quick little snippet and then didn't look into it.
Yeah, so he ended up, saying like I don't think it was right because the weapon that he used, which I believe was a knife, I think there was some mishandling of the weapon, so like no finger
of the evidence.
Yeah. So, and to me, that's like, if you really truly believe innocent until proven guilty, to me, that's not,
Right.
And I'm not saying that I don't know, like I said, all I know is based on media, and I know that I shouldn't rely just on that. I need to do my own research.
Due diligence.
But at the end of the day, to me, that says a lot for the prosecutor. He was the one prosecuting him, but for him to send a letter to the governor, and be like, I don't think it's right that we go ahead and execute him, says a lot.
Yeah, it does.
And I think the family of the victim even like said that they didn't want him to be executed. which is...
Which also says a lot.
Yeah. And like I said, is it, are we a society of innocent until proven guilty or guilty until proven innocent?
100% we are guilty until proven innocent. Yeah.
And I think we like to believe that we're innocent until proven guilty because it makes morally, it's like, I'm
that type, yeah. But no, everyone throws guilt. Yeah. I mean, it could go into a bunch of examples with that, but...
Which is why another reason why it's like, it's all about persuading the jury.
Mm-hmm.
Can I... So...
Yeah. How can I spin this story for my favor?
Yeah, and as we see, media spins just
every day.
Every day. But that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right, so our next one, we have Arne Cheyenne Johnson. A lot of people know it as The Devil Made Me Do It. This 1981 case. This is the first and only time demonic possession has been used in a U.S. murder trial.
Mm-hmm. So it's a landmark case.
A landmark case.
Yeah.
So unless you live under a rock, everyone knows about it or at least has heard of it. Because like we said, there's the movie The Conjuring that was inspired by it. Netflix has a horror documentary out there called The Devil on Trial. There's books about it. Like, there's just a lot on it, which also fascinates me because, again, it's not like serial killer level. It's not super prolific.
It's using,
like, they're sensationalizing all of it. Like, they're making, like, the movies and kind of like, Amityville horror, like, just taking it to the extreme. When really, like, what transpired is kind of anticlimactic compared to, like, what we see in the movie.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's so big because it was the first and only time that demonic possession has been tried to been used in court.
And I think it's very interesting because I guess, like, there's no way, well, I guess we can get into the details of the case, but, like, can you really prove what, a ghost, like,
Right.
How do I prove that
Right, and we will get into that. Yeah. But how do you prove that?
Yeah.
So essentially what it is 19-year-old Arne Johnson, he stabbed his landlord, Alan Bono, to death with a pocket knife. It was the first murder in 193 years.
I did see that.
In the town of Brookline, Connecticut.
Yeah, and I believe he was 19 at the time?
He was 19 years old. So not only is the small town shocked by, like, the murder itself, but the intended defense as well, which was guilty by reason of demonic possession. Backstory on Arne and the whole case is, so Arne Johnson, he met his girlfriend, Debbie Glatzel, when he was only 12 years old. So Debbie at the time was 19 years old. They didn't start dating when he was 12. They started dating like a few years later, so maybe he was like 15 or so. But still, there's that 7-year difference, and you meet them when, you're 12 and then you're 19.
Yeah.
Which is...
That's creepy in itself.
Interesting.
Yeah. Creepy.
Which is a choice.
Yeah.
And like a 7-year difference really, like, is not that big of a difference depending on your phase of life. So if you're like 20, 27, that's fine. 30, 37, that's even more fine. Like, the older you get, the more fine that is. But when you're 12 and 19, that's where it's like...
Even when you're like 21 and like your partner is it, like, what am I supposed to do with you?
Right.
Like, play,
where we...
Go to the park?
Do a picnic? Lame.
Yeah. So...
We must poison ourselves with alcohol on every date.
20, yeah. So I think, like, maybe after... Well, personally, to me, it's like after like 20...
After,
if
I think after 25.
Get in the club, then I think it's,
Yeah, because when you're like 21 and then you're dating like a 26-year-old, like that 21-year-old is now legally able to drink. Right. They're going to be in a different phase and party than like the 26-year-old who's been doing it for 5 years.
I'm 27. I don't like doing it. So I can't imagine, like,
doing 21. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Anyway, so at 19, when Arne turns 19, they decide to move in together into the small house. And about a month before moving in, the whole family came over to help, like, clean up the house, get rid of some of, like, the stuff left by the prior tenants. And it was then and there that David, which is Debbie's youngest brother, started experiencing or had a, quote, paranormal experience. So about a month before they moved in, the youngest brother of Debbie has this experience. He claimed to have seen like an old fiendish man. It was like black, burnt, charred, and was telling them to like get out or like beware.
Yeah.
Trying to give like some warning. And apparently this man or the spirit followed David back to the house, because this isn't the house that's haunted.
It's this, yeah. Okay.
It's David that brings this spirit home. And over time, David had more visions that escalated his behavior, he started growling and hissing and was being very uncharacteristic of how he'd normally been. He was having like seizures and convulsions to the point where like, okay, the family is like concerned. Yeah. But instead of going to like a doctor, they go straight to the spiritual, and so they go to the church and they want an exorcism. Right. Just right away. So they go from 0 to exorcism like immediately. Okay. And this unnamed priest was like, no, like we can't just do that. There's a lot of things that you have to do prior to exorcism. You need to get approvals, everything like that. So we're not going to do that. We're going to start with like blessings, which I don't know what it is, but you start with that. Okay. Still, that didn't do anything. So it's interesting that the parents, or most of the family, went hardcore spiritual and religion church, whereas the middle brothers, so you have Debbie, who's the oldest, Carl, the middle child, and then David, who's acting out. Carl thought that it was all physical or psychological. Carl never bought into the spiritual or possession side of it, which was interesting because that side of the story never gets told. Yeah. I didn't know, You only hear about the religious part of it, but there was one family member who did not buy into it and thought that it was actually something physically wrong with him or psychologically. And then just to play devil's advocate, pun intended, prior to all of this, like they had just watched, like, I believe it was like one of the Exorcist movies or like Rosalind or Rosemary's Baby or something like that. So David was able to see what it looks like to be possessed. Interesting. Yeah. So just like there's both sides to it. I know like this case kind of divides a lot of people. Like there's the religious side and then there's like the logical scientific side of it. Yeah. And this is just evidence to support the like scientific side if you're not going to go into spiritual. Yeah. Interesting. Desperate for help, because the visions and everything just becomes more erratic, the parents, they turn to the Warrens. The Warrens are Ed and Lorraine Warren.
I'm so interested by them. Like,
so you have heard of them?
I have heard, yeah.
They are buck wild. They are a piece of work.
Yeah, and see, I think because I'm more of the religious, I'm like...
Because, so they were like the it couple of the paranormal world. Like they started getting into like the paranormal investigating because they're paranormal investigators, I think like back in like maybe the 50s or 60s. Yeah. But no one really knew about them till the Amityville horror happened.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So their names took off because of that, because they were like hugely supportive of that, or like, I don't know how involved, they're very involved with it, but I don't know how their involvement got their name out there. But so Ed, he's a self-taught and self-professed demonologist. Okay. And then Lorraine, self-professed demonologist. I don't know how many of them are out there. And then Lorraine is a professed like medium and clairvoyant. And they happen to live only 30 minutes from the Glatzels, like this family. So they're nearby. Yeah. So the parents are calling Ed and Lorraine saying like, hey, we know your name from the Amityville horror. Like, this is what's happening to our son. Can you please come check him out? And of course, either out of care or out of opportunity for money or opportunity for fame, the couple obliged, and then they went over there. Yeah. And when Lorraine met David, she claimed she believed there was, quote, a creature in that child's body, and that the creature was there to cause considerable harm to him and the family. And at this point, David's behavior is just beyond aggressive. Like, he is feral, he is unhinged, to the point where, like, they claim to have even seen him, like, levitating on the bed. Like, there's, like, space between him and the mattress. And that the only thing that would fix David is an actual exorcism by a Catholic priest. And like I said, it's not easy. You have to petition the church. It can take months. And this is time that they don't have or don't want to wait for.
Yeah.
If he's getting like this bad. So Ed is like, no worries. I got you, fam. I am
I can do this.
I am a self-proclaimed demonologist.
Yeah.
I dabble in this. I can do a wee little exorcism for you. I can do a mini exorcism. And because David's behavior was so aggressive, they agreed. But they were also like saying, you know, we need pictures or videos. Like, we want like some proof of this, like levitation, everything like that. Pics or it didn't happen, right? There's no pics, but there's audio. And you can like still find the audio to this day.
Oh, like, okay.
Where you can hear like David, like his scene. You can hear him growling. You can hear him talking like in a demonic, possessive tone.
Yeah.
Right. So, but the fact that there's only audio and not video, like,
I guess
is this staged?
But we do have to give them that at least they were like, show me proof. Because, you know, it's like,
yeah,
it could have been like, oh, sure. But,
right. Yeah. So they have at least like the audio as like proof. And then they were even saying that David was like predicting future stuff. Predicting the future.
I did read something about that. That's kind of...
It's interesting because one of his predictions was that Cheyenne or Arne, so Cheyenne is Arnie's middle name, David predicted that Arne would die the next day.
And he
didn't die.
Okay.
But Arne like was at work and I think he fell like maybe like 10, 20
Final
feet.
Destination type shit.
Yeah. So he ended up falling and he hurt his knee, but he didn't die. So that was like enough proof though that
that's like yeah.
Oh, like this is legit. He's predicting stuff. He has to be
terrifying.
Possessed.
Yeah.
And Arne, you know, this is like his girlfriend's little brother. Like he's worried for him, wants to defend him, and so he's heard on the audio and he's been witness to like yell at David or the demon saying, well, I'm gonna fight you, I'll fight him, let me at him, or like let me have the demon, not David.
That's brave. I could never.
Yeah.
I mean, would you do that? Even if you're like, you know, aside from that being religious, would you be like
take me instead? Probably if it was like me versus like a child. I feel like an adult would love,
she cares about the future.
An adult would be able to handle an exorcism better, I think, than a child.
Yeah. Well,
and depends on who the child is, to be honest.
Yeah, if it's the knowing ass child.
I mean, I guess you should do it for any child, but more willing to do it if it's a child that you know and love.
Oh, of course. Or just like a sibling, but I would still be like, fuck
feel
me.
Like, here
I go.
You owe me big time. You owe me for the rest of your life if I take this demon from you. Yeah. So, peak possession moment. Like, David is at his height. Like, you cannot
literally, like, floating in the air.
Yes. He's at the ceiling. He's breaking the glass ceiling. He's so possessed. We come to find out that he's not possessed by like one beast, but apparently 43.
43?
43, which is very specific.
I was gonna say that. What is that number? Is there?
That's just what Ed and Lorraine said, which is this paranormal couple. That said 43 demons. So here's where the 4 minor exorcisms happened.
Okay.
So they go through 4 minor exorcisms. It sounds like they were pretty much like back to back to back. And in one of them, like, David ended up stopped breathing and he needed CPR because they're like very extreme.
Isn't that like kind of like, does that not make you, I know you're not like really, but does that not make you wonder like, that's suspicious. You know, like, how do you explain that?
That he stopped breathing?
Yeah, like during all this.
Well, I don't know what an exorcism entails. Like, are they holding him underwater to expel the demon?
I think
Or
it's just,
like
and
the sage or...
and like prayer. I think like you pray during it.
This is also a very fucking traumatic experience. If I'm a child, I may fucking hyperventilate to the point of passing out.
No, that's why I was interested to take your, because
if you're looking at both sides.
Both sides, that's that would do it.
This is extremely traumatic. And scary. And supposedly it worked. According to Ed and Lorraine, the demons were expelled. However, months followed, things kind of settled down, but David still had behavioral and psychological issues. He's not possessed, but none of his behavior or anything changed.
Interesting.
And then they just kind of like gave up. Like nothing else was done with David. Like, oh, that's just how he is, what he is.
We're just still never went to a doctor.
Still never went to a fucking doctor. Yeah. So because things had kind of settled down and the demons were quote unquote expelled, Arnie and Debbie, they started focusing back on work. Debbie got a new job as a groomer at like this kennel. And while there, she met 40-year-old Alan Bono.
Okay.
So this is where Alan Bono comes into the picture. And during all this time, though, like Arnie himself, he's feeling spooky. He's feeling semi-possessed. He's having his moments where he sees things or hears things, then other moments where he's fine. Supposedly, allegedly.
Literally, allegedly.
Yes. Yeah. So is this actual possession or is this lingering trauma?
Yeah.
Or PTSD?
You
know, if you're witnessing all of that.
Yeah, especially when, you know, the brain works in crazy, mysterious ways, and that your brain can trick you into...
Yes.
Yeah.
You're more susceptible to seeing things if you believe it.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you about how I think I got haunted in college?
No. You think you got haunted? Can I take you down that... Let's go down this path.
So, it's interesting because... that you like bring it up because right before COVID, this is how I was able to get out of the lease. It was right before COVID.
You just become haunted and that's how you get out of a lease.
No, you can't. But COVID helped because that's the thing. So it was my best friend, really good friend, Leslie, my sister, and I. We were living in like a 3-bedroom, you know, right by SIUE, this school, and it. Like, I never saw anything, but I would, like, you know, because they would be in class, or sometimes, like, she would go home, and, we would stay alone. But, like, when I was alone, because I was in the basement, because the basement was finished, and it was, like, a room. Yeah. So I was in the basement, and I always heard, like, it sounded like people were upstairs. And I just, tried to be reasonable, and I would just blame it on the neighbors, or, whatever, like... I always came up with an explanation that, like, worked, whatever. And then I don't know who like first said something. I don't know if it was my sister or my friend Leslie. I think it was my friend Leslie. She would say that, like, I think that she would see like a shadow by her closet, and like at night it would be like it was like a man looking at her. Oh my. And I was like, that's but like to me, because I tried to be like reasonable. Rational. Yeah. Like, oh, maybe you were just dreaming.
It's a shadow. Yeah.
And like, like sleep paralysis. Like I would try to come up with every,
logical explanation.
Yeah. And then my sister told me, and I don't think they had communicated.
So this is separate times.
Yeah.
That they're reaching.
And she was like, I saw like a man in my room looking at me. And like to me that like freaked, because it was like, because they were both upstairs. So it was like the top floor was like the 2 bedrooms and the bathroom. The main floor, the kitchen, and then I was downstairs. So it was like, 2 people are telling me.
Seeing this man, and then you're hearing someone upstairs.
That's, it's like, that's sketchy. But again, I'm like, whatever. But when she told me this, she was like, I'm just going to keep my Bible open. My sister, because, we're a very religious family. Mm-hmm. After she would pray at night and kept her Bible open, she, like, stopped seeing
the shadow, the man.
Interestingly enough... And we would also, there was one time where, and again, it could just be, like, I lost it, like, whatever. But it felt like we would go through, like, it would either attack, like, me or, like, my friend. Because, like, for example, one time, I lost my medication. And, like, that drove me, it was things that were, like,
where did
targeted.
You put it? Yeah.
But it felt very personal because it's like, I'm going to flip.
I need my medication.
Right. So it felt like there were things that like were very like, let me see what I can, make you go crazy type thing. Like I lost my medication, like, like things would go missing, like things would be moved. It was just very like annoying. And it got to the point where I remember one time I was literally alone and I don't know what it was. I think I heard a door, something, and I was literally like, can you leave me the fuck alone? Like I was literally like in my kitchen.
Please, spirit.
Leave me the fuck alone.
I've had enough of your shit.
But at that time, my friend ended up getting pregnant. And I don't know if you're like familiar with this, but a baby, it's an innocent soul, right?
Yeah.
Like if you want to,
they're pure.
Yeah. So it kind of stopped fucking with me. And she would constantly like see things, like, always felt like somebody was watching her. And it got to the point where, because we're very religious, we had her like mom come over and like just like bless the house. I think it was like mentally like to kind of get us to just be like, okay, the house is blessed.
Safety blanket.
Right.
Yeah.
I kid you not, we were downstairs, and I think at some point we also found a picture. It's like a movie, a picture of like a kid, which is like weird.
That's creepy.
In the laundry room that was next to my room, so yay me. But we were down there, and I kid you not, we were praying, and it just like, I don't know how to explain the feeling. And it could just be me scaring myself because it's like, I think something's...
You're overthinking.
Right.
Yeah.
But it just felt weird, and as we were praying, I swear the door just started like moving like crazy.
So it started freaking out. Her mom like threw holy water. Like her mom was scared. Like we were all fucking scared. Oh my.
And after that, we were like, okay, we did the same thing. We contacted the priest at my church. We were like, can you please come? Just bless the fucking, bless the house. And then COVID happened. And it was also to the point where it was like, it was mentally draining all of us, except my sister, because she stopped experiencing shit after she fucking, would pray and stuff, which is, very interesting. Again,
right.
So, anyways, the priest was supposed to come to our house, and I don't remember exactly what happened, but he couldn't make it. It just sounds like the movies, right? Like try to get the priest in there. And
then the one night that he doesn't come, then that's when all the doors and windows shut, and then all the haunting happens.
Fuck, what did I... Yes. Yeah. So, and and it got to the point where it was like, I was, like, here's my pregnant friend who is like, that does not seem like a very... It's like
stressful pregnancy.
Yeah. And like, also, how do you explain to people? Like, I think I'm
being haunted, yeah.
It's like, are you, you just start over, like, am I going crazy? Am I really experiencing this? So I think we were looking at ways how to, like, in the lease, and we couldn't. We were stuck there. Yeah. We're also, like, broke college students. Right. Like, how do I tell my landlord, like, hey...
this place is haunted.
Yeah, can you please let me,
Well, I'd be curious, like, if you, like, ask him, like, hey, has anyone else said
anything? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it all happened so fast because then after that, it was like COVID happened. So we had spring break. And then we got an email that was like, oh, you get extended spring break because of COVID. And we never went back. Yeah. But because of that, I was able to, my landlord was... reasonable, and he understood why, we weren't not going to come back, so he didn't hold it against us. But then, after that, it was like, fine. So,
then it's just the place that was haunted, not necessarily like a person.
Yeah, and I think it used to be, because, like, close to us was a cemetery, and I think they used to bury, which it's another reason, for me to be like, okay, maybe I dig it.
But there's that, and there's also like, you're thinking about it, so then that could be where your mind plays tricks on you. Also, knowing that you live by a cemetery, so again, more susceptible to seeing and hearing things that aren't really there.
Exactly.
Or
so it's like
creating a scenario in your head.
Yeah. And, like, I just can't admit, like, I'm telling you this, but I don't know how I could prove it to you that,
Yeah. You wouldn't be able to prove it in court. No. Yeah.
Which is, interesting in this case. I think, I don't know if you, like, want to get into it, but it looks like the judge was like, you're not using that. Like, there's no way for us to, like...
To prove that.
Yeah,
I do have that. Because, after they, like... So, because we haven't even gotten to... So that was David that was being possessed, and Arne is the one that... commits the murder. So like after things had like settled down, he went back to work, Debbie met Alan Bono. Alan Bono also happened to own apartments. And Arne decided that like he wasn't going to deal with a priest. Like for whatever reason, they used all these resources for David, but not Arne. So like Arne was like, figured out my guy. Eventually, they moved into one of the apartments that Alan Bono owned. And supposedly everyone got along fine. But what happened on the afternoon of February 16th would suggest otherwise. So there's various accounts and stories of what happened because people like changed their stories over time. But what it sounds like is Alan and Arne went to lunch one day on February 16th. They went to Mug and Munch Cafe. And then they went with Arnie's sisters, and they went with Debbie. They were there for a few hours, and the two men drank, between the two of themselves, 13 to 15 glasses of wine.
So there's alcohol, involved.
Lots of alcohol. That's like almost 2 bottles each.
Yeah.
In a few hours.
Yeah, and that will get you to see things on it.
Yes, that will get you to be susceptible to a lot of stuff.
Interesting.
So they had the 2 bottles of wine each-ish. They went back to the apartment, and based on interviews with Debbie, Alan Bono made some remark about Debbie, which caused an argument between Alan and Arne. That argument gets taken outside. It's fueled by wine. And Arne claims to have no memory of what happened next.
Okay, which
well, no fucking shit. You had all this wine. You're blacked out at this
talking
point.
About blackout, yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking. It was Patricia.
It's Andrea.
Yeah.
But it really was, because you really don't remember shit when you black out.
It's scary.
Terrifying, yeah.
I hate it so much.
Yeah.
Witnesses testified that Arne pulled out a pocket knife and stabbed Alan 4 times.
Oh, that's personal.
Yes, it's up close and it's personal. And it's a pocket knife, too. You have to really get in there. So Alan falls to the ground and Arne allegedly walks off into the woods. So Debbie runs inside to call for help. But not police help.
I hate when people
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Who are you? Yeah.
Like, how is that not your first thought when, shit goes awry? Like, 911 on speed dial. Like...
that's...
So she calls her dad.
Okay.
And then somehow an ambulance arrives from someone else calling. Don't know who called, but eventually ambulance arrives. And ambulance, the guys, they're lifting Alan into the ambulance. He's still alive at this point. He's got 4 half-shaped moon stabs along his rib cage. And while the ambulance driver is loading Alan into the ambulance,
that's a good point.
He overhears Debbie tell her dad, quote, "Oh, Daddy, he didn't mean to do it. You know how he gets when he's been drinking."
Yeah.
Possessed, obviously. Everyone gets possessed when they drink.
This is so interesting to me because I'm in evidence class right now. That's hearsay. My professor would be so proud of me.
I know the legal term of that.
But it's interesting because it's what do you really mean by that? You know what I mean?
What was the meaning behind that? What do you mean? You know how he gets when he's been drinking?
Or I don't know if just maybe me, maybe not, maybe a friend, but it's sometimes when you get mad, you're like, oh, I'm so tired of it. You say things that when you're in a very stressful emotional moment, you say things that don't necessarily mean what you're saying, so it's did she really mean what did she mean by he didn't mean to? Did she know that because he was drunk, or
right?
Yeah.
And who will ever be able to say? To me, it seems pretty black and white. He didn't mean to do it. You know how we get when he's been drinking, which means that Arne just loses control or gets violent, angry.
Yeah, or it could
possessed, or
that's my but
there's no in between.
Yeah, or just I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So Alan was pronounced dead at the hospital. He made it to the hospital, but died at the hospital. So there's no question who did it. There's plenty of witnesses that saw that it was Arne that did it.
Right.
And then you have what the ambulance overheard Debbie say to the father. There's just all this evidence stacked up against him. So it would seem very straightforward. Just a drunk argument that got out of control and ended tragically. Lorraine and Ed Warren enter the chat.
Again, they're like,
They come back. They're like, hey, you thought we were gone, but we back.
Wait, there's more.
There's part 2.
So sad.
So it appears that Arne killed Alan Bono, but he only did so because he was possessed by a demonic entity, according to Lorraine and Ed.
Or alcohol.
Yeah. The demons, the poison of the alcohol. But not just one entity, because there can never be just one.
Oh.
Multiple entities. And Ed said, quote, Arne made a big error when he challenged those demons to leave David's body and come into his own. So their argument is that Arne is is now possessed by the same spirits as David. Lorraine even went so far as to tell a reporter, quote, he never realized there were so many demons in the boy. Which was 43 again.
If he would have known,
if he had known it was 43, then he wouldn't have done it.
2, he would have, yeah.
Quote, we knew this case would end in tragedy, but Arne was the last one we thought this would happen to. The demon used Arne to achieve its goal. It really just wanted to destroy this young man's life. Which is an interesting, well, I guess as a demon, that would be like your goal.
Right.
But I don't like that they're completely taken away that, like, he just killed a man.
Yeah, but...
And if they truly believe that this is, like, possession, then, yeah, they're going to blame it on the devil. But what is right is that the Warrens claimed that Arne was possessed, thought he was possessed at the time of the murder. But not the next day. The next day, he's totally fine because the demons did their deed, and then they just naturally, magically disappeared.
Well, yeah, because they
just yeeted out of his body.
Up onto the next, or,
next person.
Next person. Well, I think, not that I like, but if there were no alcohol involved, I think it would be a completely different story to me, too.
100%, yeah.
But again, like, I mean,
I mean, who's to say what would happen?
Yeah, exactly. So.
But the fact that you have 13 to 15 glasses of wine.
How often did he drink?
Would drink? I don't know.
What's your tolerance? Not trying to,
Right. But it did come out later that actually Alan, the victim, had way more to drink than Arne. Arne had a lot less. So it's very possible that Arne wasn't necessarily blacked out. So maybe Arne knew what he was doing and used the possession.
Or he was really possessed.
Because there's other claims out there that, like, Alan and Debbie were having an affair. So was Arne jealous? Or did Arne believe they were having an affair and wanted to take Alan out? So lots of layers here.
Oh, we can go down every loop, or...
all the rabbit holes.
Rabbit holes, yeah, not loopholes. Well, I guess they did. Also, they tried to, yeah.
Yeah, so this demonic influence would have been normally dismissed by investigators.
Yeah.
However, this is a very small town. People at the time were also very religious, very Catholic. The Catholic Church was involved.
Yeah.
They had the blessings. There was little mini exorcisms that were going on. So this gave them pause.
Yeah, I mean...
just enough pause to, like, think about, like, what if, or maybe, ...
I think it's because you never want to be that person. Like, what if that was you? You know what I mean? Like, if you were that religious, like, like...
if you are very religious, like, then, I could see where you would think, well, maybe possession is a thing.
Yeah, and, like, how would if this happened to a family member, of mine? Like, how would I...
Right, how would I... What would I think?
Do?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then Arne Johnson's attorney was extremely eager to take on the case. So much so that he did it pro bono.
Wow,
He loved all of the media attention.
Yeah.
So, was it done for the attention, or was he actually really trying to help?
Probably the attention.
Yeah.
Because pro bono?
Pro bono.
Good for him, he's doing his lawyer duties.
Yeah, maybe he's just a swell guy. So the attorney Manila, he tried to enter a plea of not guilty by reason of demonic possession. But Judge Robert Callahan was like, fuck right off with that.
Yeah.
Just rejected it, arguing that such a defense would be impossible to prove and that any testimony on the matter was unscientific and thus irrelevant.
Yeah,
yep.
I have that.
And then Johnson's legal team, they decide to pivot, and they go for the self-defense.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, Arne was convicted of first-degree manslaughter because it wasn't really planned.
Yeah, that's one of the... I think with manslaughter, it's like you acted negligent.
Or like, for me, when I can differentiate between like manslaughter versus murder, was that murder is planned.
Yeah, intent.
Manslaughter, heat of the moment, it happened.
Yeah, or you should have, you didn't act as a reasonable, person. So yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then...
Which is really interesting. How do you feel about that sentencing?
The manslaughter?
Yeah, or I guess I cut you off. He only ended up getting, I think, like 20 years.
Well,
but
Judge Callahan imposed the max sentence under Connecticut state law, which just so happens to only be 10 to 20 years in prison.
Interesting.
And he gave him the max because, quote, it was Arne's apparent lack of remorse. So the judge was like, yeah, whether you were possessed or not, you are showing no remorse for taking a man's life. So regardless,
was he which is
I'm sentencing you the max, which is 10 to 20 years. But he ended up being like...
He was released early.
He only served 5 years.
That's crazy.
And while he was serving, he ended up marrying Debbie while he was in jail. They had they couldn't wait. Well, I guess they didn't know.
That makes me even wonder, like, what did you mean by how he gets? But then you like go back
but then you go and marry him.
Like, what did you,
It's a true ride or die, I guess.
Romeo and Juliet.
To the end. Never.
It's not real until you're with me after I murder someone.
Marry me in the jailhouse.
In jail.
And then, the wedding happened, and then he was released 2 months later.
Interesting.
Which only serving 5 years. And then, I think, I can't remember if he changed his name or what, but they try to, like, live under the radar. Carl and David ended up having, finally, like, I think a civil suit because, like, people, like, wrote books about it in the movies, and, like, it totally affected their lives. Like, they couldn't go to school.
And I'm sure they were getting no money out of it because people are capitalizing off your story, and that's so annoying.
Right, that I have no idea if they were or not. But then, they couldn't lead normal lives, and I didn't look in to see if they won the civil suit or not. But, like, so this just, it just kept going.
Yeah. That's interesting. How do you feel about this case? Like, honestly? Because I don't, like, there's so many, things that can come into play, but also I think being religious, like, I'm very biased about how I...
Right, so from a non-religious perspective, I feel like it was just an easy cop-out. Like, let's just throw religion and see if it sticks. And then let's just pretend to be insane. And then, we throw in the religious factor of it. A lot of people are religious. Thus, if you do have a jury that is religious, you can make them believe that you weren't possessed.
Again, it's all about persuading.
You're just being an actor. And you're just thinking, like, what can get you off? But I don't understand, like, the lead up to it. Like, this, like, let's say that I don't believe in the possession part of it. What made David, the youngest brother, start pretending to be possessed? Like, what was the purpose? Like, what would he get out of that?
Yeah, attention maybe, but I also like the saying something and then it almost happens. Like, that's weird to me. Like, when I can't remember who almost...
Well, you say enough shit, something is gonna be for real.
But, like, I don't know. It just it's.
For me, I think he was having psychological issues. And, like, I think there was something psychological or physical happened. He saw that movie and then was susceptible, scared, started acting like that.
Yeah.
Maybe for attention. I don't know. I am curious to watch the Netflix docuseries because they interviewed David on there as an adult.
Interesting.
And then I think they played the audio, everything like that. So I am curious because it seems like he genuinely believes that he was possessed.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people also with mental health issues that do believe that they are possessed. And then, but then I wonder, like, okay, Arne is then feeling like he's experiencing the lingering trauma, susceptible. And then I do think that he's thinking that Debbie and Alan are having an affair. And so then he plays into that possession, gets drunk, maybe like flies off the handle. I don't think he may have like really tried to kill the guy. I think he just lost his temper.
Yeah.
And then just played into the, I'm possessed.
Yeah. That's a possibility, and I think
that's what I think
makes these cases so fascinating is because it makes sense. That makes sense, but
then the other side also makes sense.
Yeah,
and who's to fucking say? No one will ever know.
Yeah, it's all about just persuading the jury. Doesn't that make you want to be a lawyer and? Can I get you to...
I don't know if I want to do the 3 years of school and take a bar.
You are so smart.
I will stick to just crunching numbers, black and white.
Yeah, but it's very interesting. I feel like we haven't had like a case like that. Well,
it's the landmark.
Yeah, but like...
But you guys, haven't.
No, like I don't think we've had like a, possession, whatever, case recently or anything that's like...
Well, I don't think they allow it. I think every judge, it's like you can't prove it, so you can't come in with that. And I think everyone goes for the insanity. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Oh, we live in a society, don't we?
Yeah.
In this case, just make you like...
It's a time.
It's a time, yeah.
But so... Andy or Andrea actually came up with both of these cases, so thank you.
You're welcome.
I said I wanted to do spooky, and
I said, I got you.
I know.
The law is spooky. Let's mix great for Halloween. But now, do you want to do the crazy?
Let's do some crazy laws.
Yeah. Did you see my thing that I think I put like certified buzzkill? It was.
I did see that. Yeah.
Because again, laws are such a buzzkill sometimes. But when I was reading this, I just could not help but wonder, like, who ruined it for everybody?
Right, like, what the fuck happened for this to become a law? Because some of the laws, some of the laws that we'll talk about are absolutely insane. Like, you would not be able to like conjure them up on your own.
Right. It's like funny, but it's not. Because it's like
because this actually affects people.
But then it's like, who ruined it?
What? Yeah. People always ruin things for other people.
Yeah, they do.
So you have the list?
Yeah. Here, I can start with the first one because our neighbors, Belleville, Illinois.
Yeah, woo woo.
Yeah, they have made it illegal, wearing masks illegal for anyone over 12.
Yeah, so in Belleville, Illinois, it is banned to wear a mask if you are over the age of 12.
Is it just on Halloween? Give me one sec. Or is it like...
Like all the time.
The link that I put on here is like for something else.
It gives me like a redirect notice.
Yeah, it does. Here, let me... But yeah, that's...
Like what happened?
Belleville...
Pause while we look up. I thought you would have all of the stuff.
I just have so much going on. Okay.
They can wear a mask other than Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get illegal for anyone over 12 to wear a mask unless they have permission from the mayor or police chief. So
what? Can we go to Belleville and try to get permission?
Can we wear a mask on Halloween?
To wear masks? Can we please?
And then they have another law that prohibits children from participating in trick-or-treating after 8th grade.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. I think 8th grade is... I like candy.
Dude, I went trick-or-treating in high school. I was like 15. It's free fucking candy, yeah.
And like sometimes like if you hit the jackpot with the houses, they give you like the big,
the giant candy bars. Candy. Yeah, king size.
Like... I don't know. I think 8th grade is kind of young, but maybe it's because so trick or treat.
It is widely regarded as one of the strictest Halloween laws in the entire state of Illinois.
Oh, good old Illinois. Who ruined it?
Who?
I just want to know.
And then it says, in part, quote, "It shall be unlawful for any person to appear on the streets, highways, public home, private homes, or public places in the city to make trick-or-treat visitations, except that this section shall not apply to children who attend any public, private school or equivalent, to include some homeschool students in the 8th grade and under on Halloween night." But it doesn't say why. But violations could lead up to $250 for first offense, $500 for any subsequent offenses per Belleville City ordinances.
I really want to try to get the mayor's approval now.
Yeah. And then Mayor Eckert led for this push, and because he believed stricter regulations were necessary to maintain a safer, family-friendly experience around trick-or-treating.
So I wonder if, like, did someone actually ruin it for everybody else, or is he just a certified buzzkill?
Yeah, does he just
Like,
have a stick up his ass?
Literally.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Go be a scarecrow then, if you have a stick up your ass. But you can't wear a mask because you're older than 12 years old.
It sounds like, yeah, you're just mad at the world that you know. It's like his villain story that he can't trick or treat, so he has to ruin it for everybody.
It is a villain story. He probably like got beat up by older kids that were also trick or treating, and they were probably wearing masks, and so he doesn't know who it was.
Yeah.
So then he was like, "Fuck everyone else," and so anyone over 12 can't wear a mask.
Yeah.
And if you're over
Good
8th
luck
grade,
trick or treating, bitch.
you can't go trick or treating because we want this family friendly.
Yeah.
Also, on the night of Halloween, the ordinance also issues a strict curfew.
I saw that. It's like from like 8, what is it? Like
5 to 8:30 p.m.
p.m., yeah.
That's when you can go trick-or-treating.
That's such a certified buzzkill. 8:30? Like, 10
That's
is
early as shit.
reasonable, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know?
But also, like, if I am getting trick-or-treaters, I don't want to be responsible from 5 to 10 p.m. That's a long time to be responsible for giving out candy. Also, I pass out early, so I may not even be awake.
Yeah.
Past.
So maybe it is somebody who's just like not a fan of Halloween.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll have to do some more research on that. So
yeah, sorry.
Stay tuned for maybe a follow-up on the Halloween laws. Maybe on Halloween,
yeah.
The episode that comes out on Halloween.
We should apply and then like have an update. Say,
yes.
Yeah.
Mayor Eckert did not approve us or did approve us.
If you please approve. What we said is not true. I know you
don't listen to the podcast where we give you shit. Yeah. All right. So what are the other ones?
So we have one in Beverly Hills banned silly string and shaving cream for Halloween.
I can see that because you ruin a lot of property.
Yeah, and there's this article does say that there have been a lot of damaged property because of it.
Well, that'd be a bitch to clean up.
Talking about a bitch to clean up. Yesterday, I was at Andy's in Kirkwood, and I got cheesed. I don't know if that's how you say it. I probably sound like a boomer.
I have no idea of like what you just said. So like Andy's the frozen custard?
Yeah. So I was leaving the parking lot, right? I'm like, just to go get my ice cream, whatever.
I'm just me.
Yeah. And I just see like a car full of like teenage boys. And out of nowhere, I just see like one of them kind of like their windows were down, and they kind of like it looked like they were half of their body was like almost out, right? And then they just threw a slice of cheese on my windshield.
What?
It was like, what the fuck?
What is happening? What? I didn't know that was even a thing.
No, literally. So I
So you got cheese,
Daniel because
like American, Kraft American,
off the
yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure those were his fingerprints too from holding
it. Yeah. Oh my god!
Yeah, I don't know if we can.
Yeah, you
see
can
that.
see it.
I had to call Daniel because like part of me was like, what the fuck, it's almost 10 o'clock. I'm eating my ice cream and like
leave me alone.
I can't get my windshield things because then the cheese is gonna spread everywhere. Like,
oh damn, yeah. So that's annoying.
Yeah, so I was so tempted to just like get out my car and throw it back, but I'm too old. I'm in law school. I cannot get in any legal trouble. So
I'm gonna go into immigration law.
So I can't let these. So I just drove home with like cheese.
This cheese there
and
as a constant reminder.
Yeah, of like teenage kids. So I agree with this because
I'm surprised toilet paper is not on there also. It's just silly string and what was the other one?
Because they don't TP in California. Like
that shit is valuable. Got to save up all your TP.
Yeah, but Did you ever TP?
No, I've never gone
Really?
TP'd, never egged anyone's houses.
Really?
Yes, and then I've never been TP'd.
I
I don't feel like I'm missing out, though. I don't feel like I need to go
Yeah.
and TP someone.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like a high school thing that like, you know, you want to feel bad, but you can't do that nowadays.
So not
with
me in high
rank.
school. I was
No?
such a goody two shoe. Like I
Really?
did not want to get in trouble, and I did not want to rock the boat.
Yeah, interesting. I just like to have fun. I never did anything bad, and you know,
Except TP'd.
allegedly.
Prove it.
Yeah, prove it, Maria. Well, I think it's interesting because nowadays, like with Ring cameras, there's so many things.
Oh yeah, you can't do shit now.
Thank God,
Everyone
you know.
is caught. Yeah, thank goodness.
I'm at an age where I'm like, thank God, but
Yeah.
yeah. So
All right, is that the last one, or is there another
no,
one?
there's one more.
Okay.
Delaware has made it illegal. So if Halloween lands on a Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
you have to push it to Monday.
Is this a religion thing?
I think so. I mean, yeah, you know, the seventh day is like a.
It's the day of rest. It's
Yeah.
the Lord's day. You cannot have the day of the devil on the day of the Lord.
Exactly, yeah.
Duh.
Yeah, which is, you know, it's very. How does that make you feel? Because, you know.
That is buck wild to me, because
it?
I thought there was supposed to be a separation
Yes.
of church and state, and yet we're making whole ass laws for religious purposes. Because why else would you move it to a Monday?
Because it is, yeah.
Yeah.
I have, you know, it's like a daily battle, you know, because I am very religious, but also like, I'm very like
Rational.
separation, you know,
Yeah.
church and state, and like, it just doesn't seem right, because it's also like, we know that it's only a certain religion, you know what I mean, that gets all the attention, like,
Is it Catholics?
yeah, Christians, Catholic, like, I don't know if you like are familiar with this, but I can't remember what state. But they are trying to put Bibles in schools. I think it's like Iowa or something. For the
Sounds
first
right.
time, it's not Florida, but you know, it's like one of those. And so what they're doing is, I read about this today. They're trying to get Bibles where somehow Trump is involved. I think he gets royalties off these Bibles, and they're
What? Weird.
trying to put them in schools. And then, you know, they're blaming, like, Democrats. And it's like, oh, they want to take... But it's like, could you imagine if, like, a Muslim, like, you know, I don't know
Right.
what their Bible... But, like, could you imagine if that
You're
was
going
a
to a
thing?
school in the U.S.
People would not... Oh, it would be... Like, no, it would be crazy. So it's very interesting that it's, like...
Yeah.
Separation of church and state, but like when we mean
But not.
church, it's like a specific religion, which is why I think it's important to separate, because there's different religions.
Exactly. And then
You have
that's...
to respect that, you know?
Yeah. And that's where...
That's why I'm such a huge believer of separation of state and church. And I'm proud of that. And I'm also proud of being religious. But I think there's like...
You have to have boundaries.
You do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because not everyone is religious, or you have the different religions.
Exactly.
But that's what I never understood, was like, okay, just because I am born in America, then I am saved. But what about all the other people that are born outside of America that don't have Christianity?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to tell me that all those other billion people are doomed to go to hell just because where they were born, and that's the religion
Or
that's
what
in
they
that
believe.
country?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, it's such a, you know, it can become such a messy topic that we have to
Oh,
separate.
100% it's messy. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to separate from, if we want, you know, a good,
Fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
So this one is kind of like, okay, we see, you know,
And it's wild that it's all of Delaware.
yeah.
Well, shit.
So
When does Halloween happen this year?
yeah, I wonder how. Yeah, that's also interesting. How often does
Does it fall
Halloween-
on Sundays? So it's on a Thursday this year. Because one of the episodes will come out Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
It will be
Let's see.
Spooky Hauntings.
Halloween on Sundays. Let's get a list of.
And then also, I forgot to ask you before the episode, do you have a weekly wow?
A weekly wow. What is?
Clearly you don't listen to the episodes.
I promise. Where are my drinks?
Which is all right. And a perfect segue
I
for people
promise.
that are just tuning in. So like weekly wow, we do it like at the end of every episode.
Drinks in the embarrassment. I promise. I'm just very busy anyways. Go on.
Yeah, she's in law school. She doesn't listen to podcasts.
You know what? I do listen to podcasts, and I promise you that when I do, they're like understanding this
law.
Yeah. So please, not personal.
No. If you're just
I live a very boring life.
If you're just tuning in, or you're like Andrea, who doesn't listen, a weekly wow is something that we do at the end of the episodes, and it stands for words of wisdom.
Oh.
Again, wisdom used very lightly because it's Gina and I, right? So how wisdomy.
Okay.
Sometimes they're serious, sometimes they're not. A lot of times we do, like, most of the time we do challenges, though. Like, we challenge someone to, like, hey, for this week, be on your phone less, or do this. So they're, like, weekly chows.
Start listening to the best podcast ever. It's so good.
They've listened to all the episodes. See, I don't know if you have words of wisdom or a challenge that you... Like, are you doing something in your life that you want other people to try and do?
Maybe just, like, think about things in a different perspective. I think, like, you know, throughout this whole conversation, we have been talking, you know, like...
Religious versus non-religious.
Or just, like, how do you feel about... Because it's, you know, I think it's very important for us as individuals to accept that not everyone's going to, you know, think the same way. You know, there's so many factors that come into... why people think or have feelings about certain things.
Yeah.
But we don't know that. You know, everybody's just living their own life.
Trying to live life.
Trying to survive. So, I don't know, maybe just, like, think about, you know, let the idea of thinking differently
be
okay.
Yes,
you know,
I love that.
just because it's, like I said, we all have different reasons as to why. And
why
there's
we think
nothing, you know, and it's not, you don't have to agree.
Exactly.
But it's just like, just hear me out, you know?
Right. Understand why.
Could you imagine if we did that? Like, our society
world peace.
But, you know, who am I to...
I do love that. That is really good. Like, hear people out. And it's okay to change your mind.
It is. Especially during, like, you know, I hate that, like, elections and that's over-consuming us. But, like...
during this time, yeah.
You know, it's just, it's so sad to me when... disagreement, you know, it doesn't have to be like, well, I think it's just been taken so far because we cannot just agree to disagree but not hate each other for, you know, understand each other,
right?
You know.
Yeah, and I think media also plays with that. They try to divide people, with the sensationalism and everything, and it succeeds.
Fear, because that. And I do have, like, an interesting, because when I was looking at these laws, and I cannot remember what state it is, but there's a state where it's illegal to not have pickles that bounce.
Oh, you were saying that before the episode. I'm like,
I was driving, like, what does that mean? Who was the first person to, like...
Who is bouncing pickles? And why are you making it illegal if it doesn't bounce?
But doesn't that kind of, like... I need to do some research because the fact that, like, if it was the person that made the law have that power, you know what I mean? Like, one day they were just chilling, they threw a pickle, it didn't bounce, and they were like, I'm gonna make this shit illegal.
I'm gonna make it illegal. The
power that holds, you know? Isn't that, like...
It sounds like someone had way too much time on their hands and didn't know what the fuck to do. This sounds like a COVID law. It's like a law that came out of COVID. They were in their house with nothing else to do, and they started bouncing pickles, and one didn't, and they're like, fuck that shit, I'm gonna make it fucking illegal.
Okay. Let's see. Pickles must bounce. That's like the Connecticut. Oh, I should have made you guess. Dang it.
Speaking of Connecticut.
Okay. Oh, what year?
I'm going to guess.
What year and, like... Okay, the gender. I'm not trying to be messy, but let's get messy.
It sounds like a law made by a dude.
Two dudes.
double. So they were, like, bouncing pickles with each other?
So they... sold pickles that were unfit for human consumption.
Because they don't bounce? What makes the unbouncy unfit for consumption?
So the Connecticut Food and Drug Commissioner Frederick Holcomb told reporters that you should be able to drop it on 1 foot.
Oh my gosh.
It should bounce.
So this is very specific.
Since the pickle didn't bounce, he was arrested and had to pay a $500 fine.
Jesus.
Well,
So the year, is it 2022?
1948.
48. All right.
So while there's no specific law around this, there are several statutes and regulations that address this incident. So it's like, it is, but it isn't.
Yeah.
You know?
You still have to pay a fine, apparently.
Could you imagine?
And that was $500 in the
Pickles.
40s.
Oh, yeah.
So that was way more money.
Also, like, what determines a good pickle? Like,
What's a
based
good
on
bounce?
Did you, when you were random thought, in high school, were you a Parkway person?
Rockwood.
Okay. Were your hot dogs bounceable?
I don't know if I ever tried to bounce my hot dogs. I think I just
Let me
ate.
tell ya.
I think I just ate my food like a boring child that didn't TP anyone. Just
Allegedly. Let me tell you, Parkway kids, like, I don't know if maybe it was just like the people that like I was with.
just the school district.
Yeah, but you know, they would see if your hot dog bounced.
I feel like most hot dogs would bounce.
Yeah, but like I don't think about that with pickles.
No, I don't think about that with pickles. Did you have Bosco sticks?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, I don't make them like they used to. But anyways, I just think this is going to be what I'm going to think about for a long time.
Pickles.
Just bounceable pickles and how that determines that they're...
We should get a jar and test it out.
But that's such a waste of pickles. I love pickles.
It is a waste of hot
Pickle
dogs and
sh-
pickles just trying to
Pickle
bounce
shots
them.
too. But yeah, it's just some people have too much
Time. And apparently they think about a lot of stuff too. I think that they think too much. And then act on it.
See why? Like sometimes you just
This
have
is
to
what
stop
happens.
thinking.
Yeah. This is what happens when you think too much. You have these outrageous
I'm telling
laws.
you. I'm telling y'all. I'm not that crazy. But yeah, that's my fun fact of the
It is a
of the
fun
day.
fact.
And think about that. Next time you eat a pickle, would this pickle bounce?
Yeah.
Would I be fined for this?
Yeah. Let us
Should
know.
I eat this pickle?
Let us know your findings.
How far does it have to bounce?
I think just a tad. Just a little bouncy.
Just a little.
Just a little boop. Yep. All right, well, thank you, Andrea. This
Thank
has
you
been
for
a lot of
having
fun.
me. Thanks for, you've been very, very good about my communication. But
Yeah, Andrea's been trying to get on the podcast for like almost a year now, since the summer.
yeah,
And then when I do reach out to her to come on, I don't fucking hear from her for
I promise
few
you,
weeks.
it's not me.
It's not me. I'm just a girl.
No.
I'm just a girl in law school.
I like love and hate saying I'm just a girl because like I'm more than just a girl, but sometimes it's perfect. I'm just like, I'm sorry, like I'm just a girl.
Or I'm just me.
Yeah, but no, I really appreciate all my friends who are, they've been all so kind about my lack of, and it's not just, it's
everyone, not just us. Yeah.
And I really appreciate that people, just going through it and
Just trying to
let me
go to school.
Once I'm done with school, you guys will have
We'll hear from you.
a law friend, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win, right?
And then you'll come at me because I'm bouncing pickle and it didn't bounce.
How much should I charge you for this?
Whatever $500 was in the 40s.
That's crazy.
Steep.
Do you really have to care about pickles?
I think I would eat it off the ground.
I was gonna say, would you eat it? I love pickles. I would eat them too.
Yeah.
But thanks for having me. I hope I can come back again, maybe.
We'll have to
Maybe
do
we'll
some
see.
more wonky laws.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
would. Yeah, I would love for Gina to also be, because I know she would.
Oh yeah, she'd get a hoot.
Yeah, she'd get
Get a hoot out of all of it.
So I hope I will. I hope this is not my only one. But yeah, I had a lot of fun.
I think for the next one, you have to be caught up on listening to all the episodes. For admittance to be on
Kill
the podcast,
me,
you must
Rich.
listen to.
Kill me. I will.
I tease. All right. Okay. Bye.
Bye.